When I get home, I want you. When I get home, I want you. Hello, 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 I got places to be. Places to be. Hello, I got places to be. Like me next to you, and you next to me. Hello, I got places to be. Like me next to you, and you next to me. Hello, I got places to be. Like me next to you, and you next to me, and you next to me, and you next to me, and you next to me. Hello, I got places to be.
Pretty brown, got me weak in the knees. Slow up, you hold me down, I'll be adjusting my speed. I've been gone too long, baby doll, don't leave, okay, I'm mad. Put up on the gas, running up numbers, shifting the axis like I was NASA. But if you believe it, put a man on the moon, then damn what I gotta do. Gotta move that ass, that's right. Tell me what that fast track like. Baby girl, there's nothing that can keep me from you. Haters always wanna keep me from you. Got me picking up my speed now for you. Please be loyal. You know you got that hello, I got places to be. Like me next to you, and you next to me.
Hello, I got places to be. Like me next to you, and you next to me.
Hello, I got places to be. Like me next to you, and you next to me,
and you next to me,
and you next to me,
and you next to me.
Hello, I got places to be.
What's up? All right, what's up, everyone? How we doing over here? All right, let me double check a couple things. Good to go. What's good, everyone? Welcome, welcome. Let's get a good session today. We got a lot to do, a lot to see, a lot to unpack. So let me make sure that I can deliver some value for all of you on this beautiful day. Let's dive right in. Let me go ahead and say what up to the squad. And as we kick things off, you guys want to, hit the like button so that it kind of boosts us on the feed. That way we can just keep giving the proper example on how to manage these trades, real-time trading, real-time management. You guys are seeing me do everything here, right, in real time. So whether it's execution, management, the whole nine. So I love it. I love to see you guys on here. What's up? Sen, Doris, how you doing? We got Matas. Bonjour. We got Carlos in here. Am I seeing things correctly here? Is that the Dow Daddy Dylan? in the house. Sheesh. What's good, bro? What up? Good to see you in here. How have you been? I'm great. How are you doing? How are you, good friend? It's been a while. Where'd you go? Where did you go? All right, I'm just finishing a couple different settings here. Okay. All right, that looks like it's good to go. All right, let's switch over here so you guys can see my screen. There we go. All right, perfect. So hope you guys got your day started right. Doing some work, whether it's getting the mind active, getting yourself in the right physical state, getting the energy levels up, start with some gratitude. Remember, we're here to trade for today, right? We're here to trade the present. It's not to make up for anything. It's not to get further in anything. It's not to catch up to expectations. We're just here to operate our system. That's what ultimately pays us. So, leave everything behind. Leave whatever your instant gratification based desires, leave that behind. The comparison, leave that behind. Let's just lock in on what we need to do so that we operate at our highest capacity today, right now. Okay? So let's go ahead and do that. And let's crush it. Let's go crazy. All right. So let me just put that over there. And we're good to go. What's up, Seth? Leon, what's up? Edgar, Luis, Karen, Puccini, hello, Amy. We got Daniel in here. Carlos, Ruben, Patrick, Brandon, from everywhere, Lithuania. Let me know where you're plugging in from. Let me know where you're dialing in from right here, where you're clocked in. Lagging for anyone else, just me. Is it lagging pretty bad? If it is, let me know. I can just go camera off. I don't mind. What up, fam? How I missed the mic click noise. Howdy, what's up, Adrian? All right, let's lock in. I'm going to go webcam off, actually, if it seems like that's going to be better. That's fine. It's not a big deal. Okay. What's up, Greg? All right, guys, let's get after it. So last week, and you guys saw here in the Tradetopia community over here, we went over some key things. So I dropped a couple big things in here that I hope you guys are going to clock in for, lagging for you as well. All right, hold on. I know what we're going to do here. All right. Goodbye, Spotify. That should open up some bandwidth there. I'm doing too much over here, folks. Buenos dias. Lagging. Okay. Daddy Dylan. Yep. He's in the house. Oh, yeah. It's lagging crazy. I can see it. New spot to make money. What's up, Fabio? How's Italy? Okay, so last week we tackled on indices all week. You guys saw, dude, what the fuck? Que lo que? All right, hold on. Now this is very much becoming a problem. Buenos dias, Fer. Dude. All right, so let's see here. Let me know if this is working a little better. You guys should be able to hear me. So chart not moving. Yeah, I haven't been doing anything on the chart. Wanted to get everything back on track. So let me refresh over here. All right, hold on, guys. This is... Okay. Let me know when you guys can see the new screen here. The moment that you can see these two trading view tabs up, let me know. Hit the like button once you can see that. All right, what's up, Dominique? 8-figure trader. We got Netherlands in here. Daniel Ramos. All right. I just kind of restarted the stream, so it should catch up soon, I feel like. You see a Bitcoin chart? All right, perfect. I think we're now back on track. Sick. All right, now you should be able to see a Dow Jones chart here within a second or two. All right, cool. Perfect. Oh my God. Talk about practice of patience. That's been the story for me the last couple days. Smooth sailing. All right, cool. All right, well, sick. That was totally on purpose, and it was just to teach everyone patience. That was absolutely the lesson. So congrats, guys. You passed the first test of the week. Okay, so let's look at indices. We shorted indices on Friday to catch it back into below New York Open and NFP in balance. So whether it was NASDAQ, Dow, I actually ended up flipping from originally selling NQ. So we were in NQ shorts, caught a nice move into here, took some stop profit, and then because of price action, we were seeing Dow start to actually give us much better bearish price action. So I ended up switching over to shorting Dow and then catching it into below New York Open and then a bit more into this NFP imbalance. But today, let's go over what we can expect overall. So now what happens here is, let's zoom out quite a bit. So we're looking at Dow Jones. Estamos viendo aquí Dow Jones, US30. And last week, we finally break through and trade up into this zone. So let me just zoom out here onto the daily. This is the current contract that we're in. And so we end up basically pushing all the way above into above the previous high for the previous week here, just barely, and then trading into March 26th price action. So overall, we did create this high beyond these previous highs. So our structure is still overall bullish. Despite us losing quite a bit of momentum, we end up coming back up into this zone and then rallying. So despite us getting an immediate drop back, we still trade relatively bullish anyways. So I feel like if we have gotten a pretty good indication that the market is relatively balanced. Maybe we poke back up into the zone. But overall, like, we're just seeing very good bullish price action. Demand seems to kind of be relatively low when we get below 42,700. So every time we kind of poke in here and then continue. So I am looking to kind of just keep taking, despite, how bullish we've been since April. We don't really have 4-hour breaks of structure, shifts of momentum. The market's just kind of continuing. So what I think we could see, one, we had Friday's low right over here. So we have last Friday basically creating equal lows. So could we get back under into this level? I think there's a chance, for sure. And just getting into filling NFP's imbalance from Friday, sure. If you compare that to NASDAQ gave a low during Asian session. So we actually got below to here during Asian session, just poking slightly below into this NFP, massive NFP bullish candle as well. And so if you notice, there is a difference in price action between Dow and NQ. And the way you're going to notice this is by zooming out a little bit. So Dow broke through these highs on Friday, making higher highs in this structure and just overall creating higher lows. Yes, there's a chance that we get back under here. Absolutely. But right now we're trading pretty well. Right? The structure is pretty healthy. So if we were going to short something, I wouldn't immediately short Dow, because we are trading much higher in this previous range. So if we look at the range from, let's say, Friday's lows and highs, we're trading pretty high up here. If you look at NQ still hasn't even broken above or into the highs from Thursday. So NASDAQ, on the other hand, is still trading well within this range. Now, clearly has very little demand below 21,700 as well. It just doesn't trade often in here. So if we look at what can happen, right now, I'm just seeing a lot of liquidity. So here's New York Open. Here's where we can expect quite a bit of volatility. And I think that we already saw the rejection of this order block here on Friday. We saw the market. This was Friday's high, but we didn't get into this last spike up from Thursday. So we didn't close out this last buy position before everything melted down. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see NASDAQ clear Friday's highs and trade into Thursday's high over here as well. There's tons of sellers, buy side liquidity, retail seller positions over here, tons of these. So seeing the market play up into here wouldn't be at all surprising. The question is this going to happen first or second? So is this going to be a target for an entry of some sort, or is this going to be our entry for shorts? And so to make the most qualified decision, in my opinion, we want to have awareness of, okay, what does Dow Jones price action look like, and what does NASDAQ's price action look like? And so to give you guys a better example, and a side note here is that Bitcoin is in a selling zone. Bitcoin can definitely mitigate these levels right now, and I think that's kind of what we're starting to see. Now, I'm not going to take this Bitcoin short because one, I'd rather just focus on NASDAQ, or I'd focus on indices, and two, other alts are kind of lagging behind. So, but I want to make sure we can just stay focused here and we don't have too many things going on at the same time. So what are we seeing? We're seeing indices drop to kick things off. So very bearish. Immediately we're seeing Dow push down. Fantastic. We're seeing NASDAQ push down as well. Not as aggressively. Look at how we're getting it below London session lows right now. We're about to clear what looks like Asian session lows as well. So here we are. Extremely bearish open. This brings us into kind of these levels right there. So look at this. Right over here. We see this big spike down on Dow. This kind of happened towards the middle of New York session. So you see that big drop into here, which plays into this zone. Great. We don't necessarily see the same thing with NASDAQ. NASDAQ kind of plays a little lower. So since NASDAQ right now is kind of slower in dropping, I would want to see us trade NASDAQ, but only if it clears the London liquidity as well. So here is just a lot of sideways movement, a lot of choppiness. I'm in belief that we should see NASDAQ get below all of these levels. If we're going to get a buy, look at how much better NASDAQ is holding structure here. Dow looks like it can keep pushing even further. And then NASDAQ is kind of in its own world. It's trading in its own way. S&P here, trading into this low. Looks like S&P is becoming relatively efficient as well. So look at how this is kind of the last pullback on S&P before we see the market rip. You look at NASDAQ. NASDAQ is already losing momentum in here, trading very efficiently. Because the market here with NASDAQ is so different. So different. It's already like moved in a way where it's incredibly efficient all over the place here. All the lows, there's no imbalances. Everything's moving well. So it seems to me like Dow needed to come into and liquidate all of these positions. And this may set up for now NASDAQ to be able to run. Now that we've gotten below here, we're seeing NASDAQ get into these levels, get below these previous lows. Do we have the green light to take buy positions? Because if you're looking at the overall structure, everything is pretty efficient here. Even this, like, we have just a lot of sideways movement, but do we see the market want to get below London session lows and then pull or not? And right now, if you notice, you're going to start to see just kind of a bullish trend. So does the market reject, build more buyers liquidity, keep pushing down? It's kind of what it looks like to me. So I would want to see indices keep pushing down, crack below some extra lows over here, get below these London session lows, and then we can see more of the reversal, right? Here's where we can see and play into where we get that big spike down. Like, here's where you start to see the market drop. So something like this looks like it could be a better play for indices overall. Look, now we saw Dow play into here, get into this level. We're seeing NASDAQ start to push down further. Look at that. Now NASDAQ is pushing. All right, starting to crack below some of these lows. In the meantime, we're starting to see, okay, Dow is trading, now that it got into this zone, Dow is trading over here. Dow is holding up these levels much better. So what we're starting to see is a shift of momentum. Price action now, looking at both of these here. Here we go. I think what we're going to basically end up getting here is what I call the shakeout setup. So we play into these lows. We're seeing very little demand over here. So liquidity has been captured on all of these assets, whether it's Dow and whether it's NASDAQ. So we already got the sweep. Great. Maybe you didn't have official confirmation to pull the trigger yet. So we now see that sweep. Here's where we typically get a break and retest. So now we decide, are we going to trade NASDAQ or are we going to trade Dow? And here's where we get something like this, right? The break and continuation. Right now, we're starting to see NASDAQ drop a little bit in structure. We're starting, or not, to just, drop a little bit in price action. And we're seeing Dow potentially do something similar. So at least what I want to see is something like this. See Dow come back down to here and then rally, or see NASDAQ do something similar. Come back down and then rally. And now, in order to make a decision on this, and because, we're making game time decisions here, real time, we just measure, we're just going to be mindful of how price action plays out. So if we see NASDAQ start to drop aggressively first, then cool. I'd rather let it play out with Dow. So one or the other is going to be the decision to be made here. And look at how things are appearing here. We're seeing NASDAQ dropping pretty aggressively. Right? So then that means I would prefer to take a buy position on Dow. So what does that look like then? What's my what should my positions look like here? So you set your risk reward. You understand your contract size, your lot size, and then you strike. So in this example, let's say I'm going to wait for another drop here, just a little push down before I make a decision. Perfect. That's what we'll do. So if I want to, excuse me, let's say here, I want to take some positions, then I could take a buy position right here. So whether it's a limit, whether it's market execution, but I can see us dipping down into here and then triggering a good play. So you could see a little dip here and then see this rally. We saw just NASDAQ push down. Now it's starting to play over here. So we're kind of seeing, one, that there's little demand here on both sides of things. You see it happen right here. And either you could pull the trigger now. You could wait for this to just do one little dip under. It's really going to be personal decision here. And, you know, see, okay, oh, which one would I prefer? Would I prefer to see, do I think there's a higher likelihood that we get Dow to run more or NASDAQ to run more? And right now we saw NASDAQ push down less aggressively. Dow kick off the session a little bit more aggressively. So we saw it, right, Dow get below and trade into these lows, so Friday's imbalance. We see NASDAQ really push kind of less intensely and get into these lows over here. So NASDAQ kind of ends up creating equal lows. And so what I want to do is just keep my eye on price action. And then make a decision just based off of that. So it's looking to me like NASDAQ again is actually giving us a better example for a trade here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to delete this and see if we get the entry for NASDAQ instead. Because right now it just looks like it's already breaking above here, and then we can get this trade set up somewhere over here. So I would rather trade it here, wait for wait for this. And now we're seeing, look at this. NASDAQ price action is still bullish. Dow is dropping. So we made the right decision deleting Dow Jones, or at least I feel like I made the right decision. And I'd rather wait for NASDAQ to come back, and then I can take a trade somewhere over here. So I would rather have this. So then what I'm going to do is position myself to be able to take a trade with NASDAQ instead. Wait for the market to pull back. And then if I wanted to take, for example, depending on how much risk you want to take on, with something like this, we saw the sweep, the continuation, kind of want to take a position right around here. So I would set up a buy like right here. And then my stop below over here. Let's see if it wants to trigger me in or not. It may just play out of like that open. So I might not. You see how we got that sell-off? I don't know if we're going to get it. Let's see. It might just mitigate instantly. So we'll see. Let's see if it comes back for to trade into this zone. Because here it's creating a little bit of support. So this might lure in some buyers. Maybe it gives us that pullback one more time before it rips. I don't think so. I think it's ripping now. Damn. So looks like the Dow setup, at least that we originally had, I mean, it would have triggered in, but this is barely making any movement. And if we look at NASDAQ, looks like NASDAQ either can set up for maybe later a mitigation play, or this is going to set up for the typical liquidity sweep. So we get below all of these London session lows. Here, this move incentivizes sellers, liquidates buyers. Right now, I think what we could be seeing is the break. This is the retest, so this lures in more selling positions. This could then activate our position here, and then we see this thing push. But one thing that I'm sure you guys are realizing and noticing is that NASDAQ and Dow Jones price action right now is not in perfect harmony. Like, they're kind of moving up at the same, not at the same time, moving down, not really at the same time. So it's not the smooth movement where they're both kind of moving together upwards and they're both moving together downwards, and one's just moving a bit more aggressively and a bit more slowly. These are kind of moving independently from one another. So right now, just showing you guys between NASDAQ and Dow, I think NASDAQ's done a better job at staying relatively bullish. And I just want to see us get this opportunity. So it looks like we can get this. I think we can get an activation here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to place this right there. And then see how we're right now filling in balance here on Dow. Here we're kind of going back and forth. Same thing is happening with NQ. So it's kind of holding this structure here really well. It's kind of building up buyers. I think we might just get down into this zone, clear out the buyers for the last few minutes, and then make the run. So let's see if we get this perspective. Again, the only reason I'm keeping this in mind right now is because when we pushed below, we got below this liquidity. Dow Jones also got below this liquidity. Over to here. We played into this imbalance. There's very little demand. Excuse me. Immediately it came back up. So I'm under the belief that the intention behind the push down was not to create bear structure, but to lure in sellers and liquidate buyers. And now looking at NASDAQ and us doing something similar, seeing the push down, seeing it come right back up. If we're following this New York Open momentum, sellers are typically following suit here. And right now we're building up more and more retail sellers. So this luring in more positions, I think we end up getting that kind of the buildup of more and more sellers so that we can get the final push down and then let this thing rip. So that's how I'm perceiving this right now, using these smart money principles awareness. This is not our mitigation setup quite yet. This is more of what I consider the shakeout setup. And this is just me being really patient. Could we have just traded based off of this? Sure. But I think once this breaks through it, this is kind of a peak attractive candlestick pattern for selling. So I think this breaking down below and then ripping is going to be a better opportunity. Also, looking at how Dow is still trading here, I think we see a bit more bearish push to really incentivize sellers and make the next move. So we'll see. Otherwise, if this thing just keeps ripping and it cracks New York Open highs and, it turns into a whole other thing, then that's also fine. Then we're just looking at this from, we'll actually have further confirmations for a trade like this. So maybe I just waited a little too long. I wanted too much out of this specific trade. But on the bright side, what I'm seeing here is we were able to identify which indice here had more of that bullish intention. And it's very clear that us adapting to how we saw NASDAQ holding the structure much better kept us out of a bad trade. That could have been this Dow Jones trade. So I'm totally cool with what we're seeing right now. For me, we have tons of liquidity here for NASDAQ. Tons of selling. Retail sellers here. We got that that buy side liquidity. So ideally, yeah, we get this pullback and we can trade back into where we had these levels, these low, the support from the past. And from here, we could let this thing rip. So bullish trades look much better at the moment with NASDAQ. And especially if we see, for example, we may just see Dow push further down to get into this NFP low. So I think if we get over here, that's what can drive NQ back to these levels. We'll see. We shall see. So with that being said, if the market, I talked about how NASDAQ could trade up a little higher, and we may see like on the 15-minute or the 1 hour. Right now, I wouldn't want to have sells on NASDAQ up here, because we're clearly seeing such a big difference in price action between Dow Jones and NQ. They're not on the same page today. So this may be because of certain tech news, etc. Like, there's always a million different reasons on why they're not perfectly in alignment. I'm sure Elon versus Trump, there's always something that's possible to be going on there as well. Which, having your eyes peeled on fundamentals or, quote unquote, breaking news, it will make a difference in just the overall sentiment, but it's just going to do what the market does. It's nothing that's really like, how do I explain this? Like, all of it aligns anyways. So it's not necessarily like things didn't happen the way we're supposed to because we got this new news event. That's not necessarily the case. Okay, so NQ starting to get a little bit of a drop. We got a little bit above the liquidity from New York Open, just like into this range. There's still tons of liquidity here anyways. So I want to see where this drives and how this positions the rest of the market. So look at how, now that NASDAQ is starting to push down a little bit, how much further does that push down Dow, if anything at all? So again, look at the difference we're seeing. NASDAQ and Dow playing different games here. Price action is different. So we need to just let it show its intention here. Here, what typically happens at resistance, right? Lures and sellers. Lures and sellers. So it's building up more and more liquidity at these highs. So right now, NASDAQ is just basically proving itself to be the bull for the session. And Dow is kind of just slowly lagging behind. Would I want to trade Dow Jones even though it's low? It's like, oh, well, Dow here is making double bottoms. Should we buy something like this? These are, again, retail concepts. I wouldn't. This to me looks like another version of liquidity. So I wouldn't be surprised if we just sweep this again. Push right back down. By no means would that be surprising to me. So as we're seeing this develop, I'm going to be pretty patient. We have now gotten our New York session lows over here. These traded into the London session, basically like the London session low. At the same time, we got Dow here, and then I'm going to pull up S&P as well. But we got Dow to trade below Asian session lows into Friday's imbalance. Pulling up S&P 500. We can also see S&P right over here. S&P, here is the low that it had. S&P over here, tapping 6,000 again. Also getting into its London session low, but making an equal low. So will we see S&P break below this, and then do we get a push higher? Because I could see that. All right, Dow here looks like it wants to break those equal lows I was talking about. I feel like the target on Dow in reality is this NFP imbalance, and Dow getting into the NFP imbalance then plays into last week's price action, and I feel like we're going to see alignment with NASDAQ as well, playing into the zone that I had brought up. So let's see how this all comes together. And so also, let me take a step back as well and say, okay, is there something that I'm missing? Could we be seeing something different? And I'm looking at how we played into, for example, NASDAQ already played into NFP's imbalance. It ends up, this happens during Asian session. This is the Asian session low. From here, the market moves relatively sideways until we see an expansion into London session. We get into this low. Great. So evaluating something like this, I think there's a shot that we could go lower and maybe trade into these lows as well. Just going back into just fully breaking below London session's low. That's why I kind of want to see, are we going to get Dow to play into this imbalance over here, because it hasn't really gone to this depths yet. And is that going to bring this down? Because originally, so let me delete this here. Originally, I wanted buys in here. Why? Originally, I wanted buys in here because we saw that there was very little demand. The market plays right up into here. And then I wanted to see the break and retest, right? This luring in sellers. Once it lured in sellers, then we can continue and rally. That's what I was looking for. Now, once this happened, this did a break and retest, and it retested, but then the market just continued straight from here. It didn't go as deep as I would have wanted to. So I think we already got the shakeout here with this retest right there, and we got the continuation. So it already looks like we got the exchange of money from sellers to buyers with this move right over here. If NFP, if we're going to end up pushing with Dow, because Dow is just not going up like at all, right? We're seeing Dow really, really struggle to trade bullish at all. If that's going to happen, if we are going to end up getting a trade out of here, I think that we need to see Dow fully accomplish its rebalancing. So my entry to trade the bull, which I think could be NASDAQ, is going to be based on just what Dow is doing. Because the way I look at the markets is we're trading an asset class. We're not just trading an asset. So I'm not necessarily trading just NQ. It's I want to have the awareness of the entire market for indices in order to do this. So this way we know, okay, we can trade in here, and then we have a quality setup. But I don't want to take this if we don't have Dow clearing another low, because I think there's higher levels of liquidity that Dow can be targeting. Cool. And I think that's going to be the case. Look at that. Now we're seeing Dow push down even further, and NQ kind of just, slowly working its way here. So I deleted this because I was thinking, like, this is kind of just dropping pretty aggressively while Dow was still a little further out. Now, seeing how much closer we're getting to cracking these lows and seeing that NASDAQ is holding structure price action over here much better. Okay, cool. Now this could make sense to me again. So I just wanted to make sure that this all could align properly. Because now when I see this, I'm thinking, okay, well, by the time Dow gets to here, it looks like there's a good shot that NASDAQ could hold this type of structure. That it would actually maintain in with these lows. And it pushed below into here would be doing what, right? It would be sweeping the liquidity, the buyers that are already lined up over here. So this is what I want to see. I want to see us break below, Dow break below, and then then these NASDAQ buys can rip. Now, something that I wanted to make sure we add and we're just aware of is our high impact news. So what is high impact news going to look like for us here? Can we expect some extraordinary price action today? Not really. Tomorrow, nope. Wednesday, hello, CPI. We'll have a bonus session there, but we'll only do this one on the school community, the free community. We'll host that early there. So we have CPI, and if we have CPI, what else do we have, guys? We have PPI. So the back end of the week is where we're really going to get the volatility, probably have an easier chance at higher risk reward opportunities. So as of right now, again, I'm just kind of letting this ferment. We're letting this cook here. And I'm patient. You see, I could have been impulsive and go, you know what, I'm just going to take the NASDAQ buy now. You know what, I'm just going to take it here. You know what, I'm just going to take it here. What if it doesn't come down here? If it doesn't, it doesn't. Then that's fine. But my awareness right now is telling me this is building up a lot of buyers, a lot of sellers. We're squeezing on both ends. So I'm okay with, I live under the belief that price can't, like the opportunity won't leave me. If I have clearly defined what an opportunity looks like for me, then it can't leave me. Unless I just didn't execute properly. Right now, my execution rules are what you see. And so if it doesn't do this, and I have no technical reason to be involved, then there's nothing going on. If this flies and rips and just goes, you know, screaming into profit, well, I wouldn't be in profit, but just screaming bullish, flying, that's okay. It wasn't my setup to take anyways then. This didn't fit mine. If it could have fit somebody else's, but it didn't fit mine, and that's cool. And on the bright side too, it's you get more when you get the market squeezing like this. You get a whole bunch of sideways movement like you're seeing. You guys know what this means. You guys know. This is luring in an opportunity for massive movement. Big movement here. Like, if this happens the right way, then we could see the big sweep, and then they just absolutely go on a rampage. Because now, especially because it's been, you know, almost 40 minutes of sideways movement with indices right off New York Open, like the build up, the positions are all happening aggressively right now. There's the stockpile of orders up here, down here. So who's going to win? The bulls or the bears? The bulls or the bears? So we shall see. So give me a minute, guys. I'm gonna go use the bathroom, and I'll be right back. Let's see, did I blow my account yet? All right, looks like we survived. Not too bad. All right, so check it out. Dow still pushing down even more. NASDAQ doing literally the opposite. Started to go higher. So these are moving in completely different directions. Fantastic. So totally not on the same page. And when we see price action like this, it's actually really interesting because this is kind of my least favorite type of trading, like price action. it's a little bit, in my opinion, a little trickier to be taking positions. I really typically don't end up taking anything if I see something like this. Because, for example, like, all right, here we had a big spike up and then a drop. So cool, maybe we get a short in there. You know, you see this as well. So when, at least when I see something like this, and I'm looking at like here, for example, like here's the 1 minute, right? All right, Nasdaq bullish, Dow barely bullish, just a little. 1 minute, un minuto. So do I want to short Nasdaq? Do I want to short Dow for some reason? Not necessarily. But what if we got some context? What if we zoomed out a ton here? What if we hit the 1 hour? What if we get full-blown perspective of what's happening here with price? So we notice we're overall looking at very different market positioning. And what I mean by that? What I mean is that when we go back to last week, Dow on Friday ends up giving us higher highs and trading beyond this structure, confirming bullish structure, whereas Nasdaq didn't. Nasdaq didn't do that. We don't get higher highs on Friday like we do with Dow Jones. We don't get that with Nasdaq. Nasdaq gives us a big push down, and it's fighting for its life right now. But if you look at where price action is now on Nasdaq, which is here 21,840, 28.39, this is comparable to the highs that it was making on Thursday before it clears this. And then if you look at where price is now with Dow, Dow is also trading at the highs that we had seen on Thursday as well. So if you actually look at this, they're trading kind of similarly. In a higher time frame perspective, they're trading a bit similar. I would say Nasdaq is still a little bit more bullish, as we're seeing Dow trading below here, below the highs of this last week. So I wouldn't say that we have the best trades to take right now with Dow Jones for buys by any means. No, I don't think that's the case. I think that we'll see Dow probably clear New York, play into this New York open more than anything, into this imbalance. I think that's a higher probability. Because right now we have all of this, sellers getting in from New York Open, a little bit of pullback, continuation. So I think we easily see the market. If we see Dow Jones keep pulling higher, I think we'll see Dow pull up into this zone. And I wonder if that will position Nasdaq all the way up into here. Right now, what are we getting? We're getting confirmation. Nasdaq is now trading above the previous highs. Fantastic. If we get more and more trading up in this range, then that would give a better confirmation for a mitigation setup, which we haven't been seeing too many lately. So something like this now gives us a way better opportunity at a buy. So, for example, we see New York Open kick things off here, sell off, pull back up, sell off again. The market begins to push on up. So if I wanted to buy, I would be taking buys below these lows, because here's where we created what? Buyers. Here we had sideways movement. So if we get a good confirmation here, we see the market just establish bullish price action. Show us, all right, yeah, the market wants to trade here. And we get just, continued confirmation, then this trade makes sense to me still. But I would need to see this. Otherwise, I just don't really have the desire to take the position. If we just quickly melt down again right now, then what does that tell us about the motive behind price coming up to here? Was it really to establish a bullish structure, or did price just get up here to eliminate sellers? So my theory still stands. I think that if we see Dow play into this NFP price action, I think there's a good chance we get that can line up to NASDAQ getting just solid positions. But the thing is, this just might not happen on the time that you want it to happen. I would like the NQ buy more if it took London's low. I think that would be nice too. The lawnmower noises have been replaced with police sirens, I hear. That's funny. Yeah, we're not in we're not in the suburbs anymore. That little season's over. Could you go after? Yeah, okay, so I can look over other markets now. This is kind of, I wanted to see if we were going to get triggered in before it ripped. And it looked like this shakeout setup. Instead of I played it maybe a little too aggressively. And it's, I guess, kind of ironic because I guess all I wanted was 4 extra points. So those 4 points cost me about 70, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Someone said they're new to trading. Can you drop the school community link? So, okay, check this out. So now we're seeing Dow. It's playing out of kind of this last point of supply over here. Starting to pick up some steam. Very nice. I think that we'll see the market push in. You know what? I'd be curious to see if we end up seeing Dow trade up into this imbalance into New York open, and then how or where that takes NASDAQ here. So I'm gonna have an alert here just when it clears these the highs from here, and then having it play into New York open right there. All right, so while that's happening, so I'm gonna pin the link to the school community. That's where we have basically the free courses on trading from scratch. It's pinned at the top, and then from there you'll also learn how to build like your own trading system, how to understand smart money from A to Z. And some extra value on the trading psychology side. It's really like basically, and we're going to constantly add more, but if you want to get into position to be able to learn how to trade and like really just plug in here, like you can definitely, it'll take time, but you can be in the right position to be able to learn how to do this, like, no problem. So, yeah, that's what we want for you guys. And then for those of you that want, like, hands-on work, day-to-day, exercises to do, more of a curriculum step-by-step accountability, then you're going to want to apply to the sovereign syndicate. That is way more hands-on. There's a different level of mentorship, for sure. It's actual mentorship, not just like, here, watch this and be on your own. Okay, so I was asked about gold. The buy idea that I had for you guys did play in. I mean, it triggered. If you took this, you're in profit. This happened while, actually, it didn't. Oh, no, shit. This happened while we were hosting our mentorship session. Dang. Interesting. James, is this the one that you took while we were doing our session? Hey, Mike, how much does it cost to join the Sovereign Syndicate after you get the 4 credits? So it depends on a few things. But, yeah, you can earn up to $2,000 in credits that you can apply towards the syndicate. So definitely, if you've done that because you've done a trading journal, you've hit level 4 in the community, you've gone through the specific courses, then you can earn your way. You basically get 2K off of the syndicate. And so book a call. If you've already done that, then you're way more qualified. Definitely book a call then, because it shows that you are actually serious about this, and you also now have a way higher comprehension of what it takes to do this. So then definitely book the call. And if it makes sense, it'll make sense. So, yeah, I mean, this is nice. This played into the open. So you see how it gapped down and then it gapped up. So we saw, and this was from last week. So we mitigate the huge sell-off here, play out of this last point of supply. So where you saw support in the past, traded right into there. I guess I didn't have the alert or something, because your boy should have been in this one. Yeah, James, I think James took this during the session, right? Oh, you took this too, Paul? Wow, it's like that, huh? Y'all be taking it and not even telling me. Nah, you totally did. All right, so from here, this is now the other opportunity that we're seeing. All right, so, Lindsay took it too. Lucas took it. Savages. Now this is giving us higher confirmation for the short, though. So eventually we'll work our way over here, because if you look at silver has just been on a rampage, just pushing through and pushing to and pushing through. So, yeah, really nice. And at some point, I think, if gold and silver keep kind of going bullish at the same time, at some point we'll get in here. And I like when we have something like this, like we had kind of a pullback here, but not quite the mitigation, because that means that we definitely have stops for buy side liquidity over here. So we could probably just clear here and then make the push. Definitely see that. And then if you are in this gold buy, I would be managing my stop. Like I would definitely be trailing this thing. I wouldn't leave too much on the table. We had this last push down here during Asian session, then the move to the upside. Could see another position here for a buy. Okay. Look at the difference right now between NASDAQ, Dow slowly pushing higher. NQ pumping. Who's anyone in profit with NASDAQ? Anyone get in there instead of waiting for a couple points lower? Hit your buy. Nice. Well done. Well done. So if we're looking at NQ right now trading out of the highs of that last New York session. So it's up into this range. I think some people might be incentivized to selling here. I am not necessarily in love with this idea because I think we could see Dow push even higher. And if Dow pushes higher, I mean, it should take NASDAQ definitely higher. So I'm okay with like just not taking this sell. Yes, this could be closing, mitigating the high. But on top of that, there's another key level here, which would be trading into the high from Thursday. So since I think we're seeing, for example, Dow here. Dow has built up tons of sellers all in this range. I think we could see this push into the New York Open instead of it just like this. Just feels like a higher probability trade. Having the market come into here and then seeing a continuation, that would probably keep pushing NASDAQ even further, maybe into this range. So I'd rather just wait for that. 1 to 3 on NAS. Good stuff, Ray. Got it on that first push. I took a smaller position than usual. Why'd you take a smaller position than usual? All right, cool. So that's it with gold. Kevin Valencia, what's up, man? ¿Venderás NAS? No, entonces lo que estoy diciendo es que no estoy buscando ventas con NASDAQ porque Dow Jones es el que ahorita tiene la tendencia bajista. Entonces, prefiero buscar ventas con Dow, posicionarme en algo por acá. Aquí vimos unos impulsos hacia arriba. En vez de NASDAQ, NASDAQ puedes ver, mire, la tendencia está súper alcista. Acción de precio muy alcista en comparación a Dow Jones. Entonces, aquí yo esperaría que quizás nos lleve aquí a la apertura de Nueva York y jugar entre estas áreas, ya que esto nos ha operado por aquí debajo un buen rato también. Entonces creo que prefiero eso más que todo. So as of right now, I haven't taken any positions. I've been just chilling. And I'll have an alert here if we clear these highs, just kind of see where, like, what the market looks like. But sometimes no trade is the best trade. All right, so let's take a look at majors. Also, well, these played out too. But it was outside of my just typical like trading hours. Like I just wasn't looking at the market. So last week I talked about, on Friday I talked about Australian, NZD, Euro, GBP, all that good stuff. And I was talking about which ones had the best position for shorts. And it was us responding to, well, it depends on how price moves. And my mindset was looking to short either Euro or GBP just based on how they pulled back. So we saw GBP pull into the zone, and it definitely mitigated. So here we saw a big buy. Market gets into here. Based on the way in which it drops, the buy position is closed. First sells to come in. If we're looking at Euro, same thing, pulls up into the zone, shorts as well. So I think we're already borderline seeing all of the market mitigating, playing out the way it needs to. The interesting thing is between like the Australian and New Zealand, I think we could be seeing possible continuations though. So majors look meh to me. in my opinion, and it's going to look more clear, especially if we look at, for example, futures here. There we go. So let's pull up 6E Euro futures. Check this out. So Euro, we see it pump, work its way down. I wanted to see the market give us structure down here, which it did, and then it pull into the zone, but it barely pulls into the zone, barely dropping. So do we have full confirmation that could this go up higher than drop? So look at something like this, like one sec. Overall, higher time frames. Price action is still relatively bullish. The lows are giving us higher lows over and over and over again. Same thing here with GU. But when we get up into these levels, the market is struggling to trade up in here. So GU, Euro, we're really struggling to have any sort of demand above 1.1450. So if we zoom in, is there an opportunity for shorts still if we were to go higher? Because the market starts to push, and this does a massive move here. So about what would we see? 67 pips or so. Big move. Okay. And then we have this here drop. But this drops about 50 pips, not quite 60 and change. So depending on how we work our way higher, we may just have a short in there. And then on top of that, I think we already came into this zone and mitigated, so I don't really need to force anything in here. I think I would rather wait for, kind of see how this unfolds, how everything's playing out, and see if we can get better trades for the buys in the future. Now going up back into indices, look at how, NASDAQ now has cleared the previous high over here. So now it's trading into this imbalance, looking to get into the highs from Thursday's price action. Okay. Meanwhile, Dow is doing very little bullish movement. This should feel somewhat familiar. Last week we had price action where Dow was flying, absolutely ripping to the upside, and NASDAQ wasn't doing anything. So remember, on Friday, we saw NASDAQ slowly, really slowly going higher, while Dow was doing this. So look at how the tables have turned over here. So over here, we were seeing Dow fly and just go absolutely crazy. And at the same time, NASDAQ did very little. Now the tables have turned. The market is doing something similar. Same but not same. So what do we have? We have right now on Dow a buildup of sellers and buyers. And what I would want to see, and what I think we're going to end up seeing here, is the following. I think we're going to end up seeing NASDAQ continue to push. I don't know if it's going to be now or after. But I don't see Nasdaq holding these highs. No estoy buscando vender aquí con Nasdaq. No lo estoy buscando. I don't see it holding here. I think we're going to break through it. I think it's going to clear last week's highs because there's a lot of stops placed right here. And especially because Dow has a lot of room to run. Like there's motive. Imbalance fills, New York Open, all of that, etc. So what does that mean? That means that I think that we may end up getting the buying opportunity here that we were looking for. Remember how I talked about, okay, now we're seeing the market trade up here. We've been trading above the previous high now for well over 30 minutes. So structure is bullish. We could see pullbacks, absolutely. And the market could pull back up into where? It could either play into this structure and then just rip. That's one option. Or, and then, this could mitigate the open, New York Open, blah, blah, blah. Or this bleeds into these lows and then it triggers the setup that I have over here. So we'll see. I see both happening. I could see either or. Because if we see, for example, this. Mike, S&P did the move that you wanted, if I'm not mistaken. Ooh, let's see. With S&P, I wanted it to... Hold on. What's going on here? Okay, cleared some of those highs as well. Created more liquidity. Not necessarily. So right now we're seeing Nasdaq minimally drop. We're seeing Dow push further. I think Dow playing into NFP price action. I want to see when Dow is over here. NFP, maybe it even breaks below. But when Dow's over here, I want to see where that brings Nasdaq. Because what we may end up getting is this move. We may end up trading out of here instead. So instead of it mitigating this and getting into this lower price action, it might just trade out of this order block. So we may end up seeing a completely different type of reaction to the market. So that's why the mindfulness of both makes, I guess, it just makes all the difference, in my opinion. Let's see here. We shall see, my friends. We shall see. Now I am basically just waiting. All right. So let's see if I want to see these alerts go off here. So from what I'm starting to see, I think we're going to end up getting a trade in here instead. It looks like we may end up getting a buy out of the order block here. I think we may end up getting something like this. Seeing, for example, Dow take out these lows, play into the NFP open. It looks like I can't see NQ trading all the way down into here by the time all of this lines up together. It doesn't seem likely. Let's see. And maybe none of that happens. For example, like if you see, let's say Dow drops 100 points, then NASDAQ usually will drop like half of that. So it could drop like 50. So that's when we could see like literally something like this happen. So that looks to me a little bit more likely. And then we would be getting a play out of the mitigation and order block. So let's see, folks. And this is just how I adapt to the market conditions. So it's not just, oh, let me just trade some random, big sell-off candle. Context is everything. Like all of it comes together. It all comes into one big master plan. So yeah, I think this playing into NFP and maybe looking even to play out of this here is it kind of like lines all of it all up. Something like that. It's getting close too. But look at the difference. Look at how like just barely NASDAQ is influenced and how little it's moving. So we know there's a lot of bullish sentiment on NQ. A ton. And one of the things that you should at least now be getting better at is realizing which one of the indices is not the one to take. Like over and over again. Which one of these is the one that won't give me the price action that I'm looking for? So at least, and I think that in itself is a win. Like disqualifying a setup is extremely valuable. That's a loss that you didn't take. So in a way, it's like a +1R. The better you are at, eliminating just bad trades from your system, the more profitable your system's going to be. So it's not just like, oh, how good am I at finding good setups or like having a good strategy? It's what's the quality of elimination? How good are you eliminating? Like just not the greatest strategies. KTPs, nice, well done. How do you change your mind like that for higher NAS entry? Oh, okay. Yeah, let me know if that helped because of how we're looking at. So yeah, I'm trading. One, yes, I'm trading the lagging setup. Two, I just have awareness on, okay, well, what logically makes sense? Like if we see, and for example, and this it could change, but if we're seeing, oh, okay, well, NASDAQ is absolutely melting and is about to hit here, and Dow, let's say, just isn't anywhere near this anymore, cool, maybe we do go for the lower one. In this example, it's like the timing of the markets are kind of aligning. So if we see this push down into here again, and then we're lining up very closely, then all right, the chances of this playing out of the order block and the mitigation are way higher, then we can go with that instead. Perfect. So look, now we're starting to see NASDAQ. All right, starting to push a little bit lower. Getting there. I think we're finally going to be able to see and Dow. I think it's built up tons of buying positions here. There's a lot of sell side liquidity, so I feel like we're bound to see the break below. And what I want you guys to do is I want to hear from all of you guys. One, appreciate everyone that likes the stream, that does all the YouTube stuff. Subscribe. Make sure the link at the top is the one to join the free community. That's where we'll recap certain things. If there's setups that I see when I'm not live, I'll share them in there as well. Psychology nuggets, whole bunch of free courses in there, tons of free resources, discounts on a whole bunch of stuff. But I want to see how you guys follow up with this. When you have your wins, we want to see those too. All right, perfect. So, all right, Dow's starting to dip its toes into the imbalance just a little bit, just lightly. And Q coming down to say hello. Come on now, don't be shy. This is basically what we've been waiting for. So, yeah, Dow Jones rebalancing qualifies playing out of the order block and mitigation. And the deeper we go with Dow, the better the chances are that, the higher the probabilities that NQ can actually play out. Don't be shy, pal. Here's a question I have for you guys, because obviously I'm not here just to live trade. It's and if you're new to the stream, drop a one in the chat. If you're new to this, if you're new to the stream, to me, you just don't know who I am. Drop a one in the chat. But for those of you guys that are new, like, I'm trading about 20 accounts here. And that's just on one. So we're trading Top Step as well. Got my own account. So everything you see here, you can basically multiply it by a lot more. And it's just because it's just much easier to operate this way. But the reason we do it like this too is just so you can kind of understand the psychology and the mindset management of positions, risk. So it's not just emulating theory and analysis. It's because there's one thing to be a good analyst, there's another thing to be a good trader, right? Those are very two different things. So I want to make sure we constantly understand that. Now, NQ here kind of cleared some of this liquidity, very little amounts. If this is all it's going to come down to, that's kind of annoying. Because, yeah, there was some liquidity building up, but, like, this was nothing that serious. If that's all it is and then we go higher, that's goofy. Underwhelming for sure. Yeah, no chance. So what I'm going to do is this, guys. I'm going to wrap up here. We saw the market tap into this imbalance. There's a chance it still goes lower. I don't know yet. If we from here see Dow, let's say, make higher highs, we see NQ go make higher highs, then I'll probably just wipe everything clean and then just take a fresh look at things and wait for a different opportunity. If we just keep working our way down and this also keeps pushing down, then I still have the same bias. So I'm curious to see just where we go right now. I don't think NQ would come down just to take a little bit of liquidity here. I would imagine it would want to do the full drop. So yeah, if you guys got some value, if you got some wins, if you learned something, go ahead, drop it in the school community. We like to see it. We'll be unlocking more of the vault, more of the trading psychology courses in there, obviously totally for free. And then, you know, if you do want very hands-on, step-by-step structure from, you know, not really struggling to to pass challenges and just to keep them, and then also a whole full comprehensive how to actually be a trading professional, consider joining the syndicate. It's a vibe in there. And the people that are here in there already, they'll tell you. So it looks like we're going to keep pushing down, and I think it's going to be able to position us in here. I like that we pushed in and out. So I say stay patient. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the session. Make sure you're subscribed. And then we should be lining up for this. So I might just hang around for another minute or two to see if it break through. Because I do. Oh, here's what I'll say before I go. If you do get a reaction out of this, so let's say, for example, the market here drops. This is like a 35-point move. So if the market comes into this zone and then rejects 35 points, if you just see a good bounce, you know, consider managing your stop, tightening your stop. I think it would behoove you. It would be in your favor. So I appreciate you guys for plugging in. You guys know we'll be back again here tomorrow. We have a lot of updates for you guys coming. So stay tuned. Catch you guys in the next one.